Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Chilltown Hoops. I'm your host, Jermaine. The youngsters call me OG. My friends call me J-Dub. Let's get to it. So this is what we've been waiting for the entire season, the playoffs, right? So this is where guys become the legend. This is where guys make their names, or as they say, this is when you earn your legacy. So the playoffs are just a different atmosphere. You know, it's more intense. It's more detailed. Everything gets turned up. And you find out pretty early who's built for it and who's going to struggle. And I watched that Brooklyn game. Last night, wire to wire. And I saw a Cleveland team that didn't know who they were and didn't know where they were early. They did get it together late. Right after they got punched in the face, they got it together. But right from the beginning, they didn't know what exactly it was that they were getting themselves into. I mean, Brooklyn jumped on them right from the beginning. Absolutely, they did. I was impressed with how Kyrie Irving was. I was impressed with what Kevin Durant was doing. They jumped on them right from the beginning. Now, once Cleveland settled down, they won the rest of the ball game. It wasn't like it was a situation where Brooklyn dominated the ball game. Cleveland won the rest of the ball game. Brooklyn didn't win one quarter after the first quarter. The problem was that they won the first quarter by 20. By 20. And all they did was keep it close the entire time. I mean, Kyrie Irving, you're not going to get a better performance than what you saw in those first three quarters from Kyrie Irving. I mean, he didn't miss a shot until the fourth quarter. He didn't miss one shot till the fourth quarter. That's the plus side to what was going on. I thought that Brooklyn's starters, they were the difference in the ball game. Everything else was pretty even. Brooklyn out-rebounded Cleveland by 3. The turnover battle was only +1 for Brooklyn. They both didn't shoot the long ball very well. They both shot it at around 32%, both of them. But the difference in this ball game was Brooklyn's starters. I mean, with the exception of Curry, they got 94 points from their starters, as opposed to 78 points from Cleveland. And now, when you look at a team like Brooklyn and you look at a guy like Kyrie Irving, you look at a guy like Kevin Durant, whatever they're producing, you're just going to have to eat that and see if you can match it on some level, because stopping them is going to be pretty difficult. Right? Stopping them is going to be really, really difficult. You have to do things like what Rondo was doing. And I've stood on this. When you're trying to slow a guy down, specifically a prolific scorer, when you're trying to slow him down, the thing that you want to do is you want to get him off rhythm. And how do you get a guy off rhythm? Keep the ball away from him. Keep the ball away from him. If you could keep the ball away from him, you can slow down his rhythm. And I thought that Rondo was doing everything that he could to keep the ball away from Kyrie Irving, to get him off rhythm. Because, you know, Kyrie had it going, man. And when you got a guy like that who gets it going, there's really not much that you can do except try to keep the ball away from him. Same thing with Kevin Durant. I mean, he basically had his way with marking. And the shots that he were missing, those are shots that he would make, not in a normal situation, but He missed some shots that he would normally make. Kevin looked a little slower to me last night than he did in the past. And I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, Kevin's getting older, man. We in year 15. But he still was super sharp last night. His ability to play make, I was the most impressed with his defense. Kevin actually looked like a rim protector. More than anything. He actually looked like a rim protector, which, as good as it looked, it actually bothered me, because I'm thinking to myself, how come you're not a defender like that all the time? You could be a perennial all-league defender. Why aren't you that all the time? Because you obviously can do it. It's obvious that you can do it. So why aren't you that all the time? Now, the Cleveland bench, they matched Brooklyn's energy. I mean, Kevin Love, he canceled out Claxton. I mean, Claxton went 6 for 6, 16 points and 9 rebounds. Yep. Kevin Love had a double-double. Yeah, 14 and 13. So he basically canceled out his production. He did everything that he could. The difference in this ball game, which I didn't understand it watching Cleveland, was Cleveland was getting a lot of stuff going to the basket, and they didn't convert. I mean, Karis LeVert, he had a 1 for 9 stretch. That's not going to get it done in the playoffs. It's not. That is not going to get it done come playoff time, man. Where you have a stretch where you miss 8 out of 9 shots. We're not good enough overall where we could sustain that, and that was obvious. Markin, he also had a stretch. You know, he went 3 for 8. I'm sorry, 3 for he went 3 for 11. That's not going to get it done. When you have those kind of stretches, you know, Rondo, LeVert, CD, Osman, Markin, and Okoro, you know, those five guys collectively, they went 3 for 16 on the long ball. Which goes back to my original point about them getting things going to the basket. They got a lot of stuff going to the basket, and I couldn't understand why they couldn't convert. They were kicking out for threes when they had a lot of mid-range stuff that they could have converted on, a lot of layups that they could have converted on. I was really impressed with Darius Garland. Don't let the 5 assists fool you. He was doing a lot of playmaking. Absolutely he was. Those guys weren't converting. They were not. They were not converting on what he was making, what he was playmaking on. They weren't converting on it. No, they weren't. So he actually canceled out Kyrie Irving. I mean, I can see the logic. Kyrie Irving had 34 points. Remember, Brooklyn did a phenomenal job. Not Brooklyn, I'm sorry. Cleveland did a great job in holding them after that first quarter. They did a great job in holding them. They only scored Brooklyn only scored 17 points in that second quarter. 17 points in that second quarter. Right? 17 points in the second quarter, 28 points in the third quarter, and 30 points in the fourth quarter. They did a really good job of holding them to one shot. They did a really good job of slowing them down. I mean, Kyrie Irving had 1 field goal in the fourth quarter. 1. That's it. The difference in that fourth quarter, because we had a 2-possession game, just so you know, we had a 2-possession game with a minute left. With a little over a minute left, we had a 2-possession game. So we got a ball game. This game isn't a wash. This game isn't over. We got a 2-possession game with a little over a minute left. I think the difference in them last 2 minutes was they ran a 1-4 flat, and in running the 1-4 flat, they started to double Kevin Durant, and immediately what Brown would do is Brown would go to the basket, bring their defense up. They don't have a rim protector, and they were just going right to the rim. They went right to the rim, and they converted. That was the difference in those last 2 minutes, and making free throws. Making free throws and going to the rim in the last 2 minutes of the game. That was the difference in the ball game, and that's where Brooklyn got the best of Cleveland. I still think Cleveland's going to make the playoffs. I think that they're going to have a difficult time with Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to beat Charlotte. I think they're going to have a difficult time with Atlanta, but they got to get a better performance at Okoro. They got to get a better performance at a LeVert. Those two guys in particular, we got to get better performances out of you guys, because otherwise we're not going to have a legit shot. We're not. So, and since we're on the subject of legit shots, if Minnesota wants to have any opportunity to win at all in the playoffs, Karl-Anthony Towns has to play better. Now, I'm hoping that this isn't an aberration of him, because I saw him in the playoffs 3 years ago, and he wasn't very good. He wasn't very good at all. And here we are in the playoffs again, and he gave them nothing last night. Absolutely nothing. I mean, they got almost 60 from D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards. They got almost 60 from them. Those two guys, in addition to the defense that they played in the second half in holding the Clippers, they got almost nothing from Karl-Anthony Towns. They got almost nothing from them. And if they're going to have an opportunity to at least be in that series with Memphis, they have to get more. Now, what I'm hoping is that this is just an aberration from Karl-Anthony Towns, and this isn't a theme going forward. I'm hoping that he can turn his game around, because I'm watching him yesterday, and a lot of stuff that he was doing was uncharacteristic, like being a bully. I mean, he can do that, but his game starts with him stretching the defense and opening up the defense. And how does he do that? With his mid-range and his long ball. Instead, he's got guys standing in front of him, and he's just trying to knock them over like pins. In the playoffs, that's not going to work. And the reason why that's not going to work is because teams are just going to load up on you. They're going to load up on you. Do what you do best. And what does he do best? He stretches the defense. That's what opens up his game. He's not much of a bully ball guy. He can play that way, but that's not his game. Absolutely not. I'm really interested to see this series against Memphis. Very interested to see this series against Memphis. I think that the Clippers, I think that they're going to have a difficult time. I think that they're going to have a really difficult time. I think that they get in, but they're going to have a really difficult time because this is a team that down the stretch, they have a difficult time holding serve. And not only that, their starters go cold for as long as they go cold, and their defense isn't good enough to pick that up. So I think that they're going to struggle in the playoffs. So it's going to be really interesting to see these guys. Yeah, man, the playoffs are here. Absolutely, the playoffs are here, and I'm really excited about it. So I'll see you guys soon, man. But until then, take it light, but take it.